Good morning. This is Vicki Gervicus at the Greater Gainesville Chamber, and I'm delighted to be joined again by Ed Bielarski. Then there were two, so we are preparing for our runoff on November 8th. And so we're going to spend some time again with Ed, and he's going to answer a few questions, and we'll get to know him even better. So, Ed, happy to see you today.
Yeah, well, it's really a pleasure to be here. And we're really coming down to the wire. I mean, it was a long haul, I guess, over the first election. I started my walk on April Fool's Day. No
symbolism there.
Yeah, I started, and then I walked all the way through almost the 23rd. Now it's a compressed schedule. It's a more intense feeling, I guess, but it's good. You know, it's like you're in overtime. And now it's time to produce.
There you go. There you go. Clock is truly ticking.
Yes.
All right. Shall we jump right in with the questions, or did you want to do a little bit?
Oh, sure. Well,
go ahead.
Yeah. For people that aren't aware of who I am, what I stand for, I'm Ed Bielarski. I'm the former GRU general manager who was there up until January of this past year when the folks at the commission got tired of me speaking truth to power, frankly. And now I'm speaking truth to the people. I have some fairly straightforward goals in terms of being the mayor. I want to end the addiction that the city commission has to GRU customer money. I want to stop the war on single family homes and the neighborhoods that comprise our wonderful city. And I want to get back to affordable renewable energy, not renewable energy at any cost.
Very good. All right. Well, I think you'll find that the questions, which I will remind everyone that none of the candidates got the questions ahead of time. So, but I think you'll find that you'll get to amplify those points with our questions. So let's jump into the first one is what, in your opinion, what is the role of the mayor of the city of Gainesville?
Well, the mayor is in many regards the chairman of the board of the city. They sit, all the commissioners are on the board of directors for the city. So there's, and we forget a lot of times that the city of Gainesville is a municipal corporation. You know, a lot of times these commission meetings are spent virtue signaling and having motions to say that they're against genocide and some things like that. I want to know who the first person that raised their hand and said that for genocide. Yeah. You know, they shouldn't be in the meeting. Right. Now, the reality is that we're a business, and years, a CPA, MBA, and a BA in accounting. I think I bring that solid approach and logical approach to city operations.
Okay, very good. Second question, and again, you touched on this in your opening, but you can amplify it a little bit. What are your top priorities and projects if you're elected mayor?
Sure. I mean, you have to stop placing the utility in a situation where it's going up. I mean, that sounds like a little spree, but the reality is that GRU makes about $20 million a year in profit, and the city is now taking $34 million in a general fund transfer. We're looking at a very harsh reality moving forward in us not having the money to be able to fund the 100% renewable resolution. We can't convert our plants. We're not investing in our utility any longer. The city needs to end that addiction. They need to balance the books. People say, well, what will you do if that money isn't going to the city? Well, when I tell folks that the city's budget has went from $100 million to $150 million a year over the past 6 years, they kind of give me a, whoa, really? They've added 300 employees. They have a Department of Sustainability, Department of Mobility. And I have to ask you, as a citizen, as a resident of the community, are your city services any better? I don't think so. So then what are we doing? I mean, this is a chamber. People are in business. If you're spending money on things that don't make the services, don't make your outreach to the customer any better, why are you spending money doing it? So that's what we need to do. That's the first goal, is to get GRU to only fund the amount of money to the city that they can afford, which also reduces the pressure on the rates that the customers pay. By the way, the rates that people pay and the bills they pay for utilities are regressive. The people that can least afford it are forced to pay it. So I think that's a fairness issue as well. And then we have to sit down and look at the city budget and see what we need to do and what we don't need to do. We'll have a public discussion about what the priorities are. And priorities aren't a 300-page volume that sits on a shelf. Priorities are a 1 or 2 page listing of some of the things that we're going to do and what we're not going to do. And the city has been reluctant to actually carry that out. So that's the main goal, is fiscal accountability for the city.
Okay. Very good. Okay, you touched on this in your opening as well. Zoning in residential neighborhoods, both exclusionary and inclusionary, is a divisive issue in the community right now. What's your stance on this?
I don't think it's very divisive at all. The community is saying, stay out of our neighborhoods. I mean, people move into single family neighborhoods for a reason, and it's called choice. You have a choice. There are plenty of mixed communities in terms of zoning. There are plenty of commercially zoned areas. There are choices. We're also in a housing bubble right now. And like always, what's the city commission trying to do? They think they can beat the market. They thought they could beat the market on carbon neutral power plants. How did that work out? They thought they could get solar in ahead of the curve. How did that work out with a solar feed-in tariff? These are generationally changing decisions, and they do it because they think they know better than you every time. And what I found when I've knocked on 15,000 doors is that the community has what my dad used to call common sense. And common sense doesn't necessarily not everyone has it, but many of the folks that are working for a living and understand their own limitations have common sense. And they're saying, these are single family neighborhoods are the backbone of the communities. It's the backbone of the city. And there are many people to aspire to single family home ownership. You can't take that away. So one of my first acts as mayor, if elected, would be to rescind that law that they're putting into place at City Hall right now.
Okay. All right. Very good. Again, another perfect segue from your opening is inequity continues to plague our region. What factors are the most significant contributors in your opinion, and how do you think the mayor can affect change?
Sure. Yeah, again, that's another rich fabric of issues. I mean, there's no doubt that there's been institutional racism throughout this community. I sat next to Commissioner Gostin when he was a commissioner, and he informed me about how this was a sundown town. So when you have, folks in the community that were not allowed out after sundown for want of being, some bad things happening to them, that's what's been imposed on the Black community. And so we have to deal with those issues because that's not going away. And you're seeing it in the disparity in education. You're seeing it in the skills training. You're seeing it in the job opportunities. The mayor has to keep the bully pulpit on those ideas. My difference from my opponent is that I think the way you solve that is that you become business friendly. You bring in organizations, corporations, companies that will strive to give people a living wage, that will provide opportunities for folks, give them some skills training, apprenticeship programs. And even though the school board certainly doesn't report to the city commission, I think that there can be a good relationship between the mayor, the city commissioners, and school board members in promoting this disparity that exists between the east side and the west side. So I think we all have a role to play in ending this inequity that exists, but it comes from a different source for me. And I think it comes from opportunity versus being punitive,
Okay,
which, quite frankly, I think was at the heart of the elimination of single-family home zoning. Was okay, that is a hurdle, so let's broaden that scope. And I don't think that that's the answer. Again, it's about opportunity.
very good. Okay, and then finally, some of us maybe know this, but I think we need to, it bears amplifying again. What prompted you to run for mayor of the city?
Yeah, I haven't told the story really as much as I thought I would, because there's just so many people get it. I think in a lot of ways. My history at the city started back in June of 2015, and I was here to kind of put an end to the biomass debacle, the contract that should have never been entered into, and was very successful in getting us out of that. But over the years, the city commission has not liked my straightforward nature. They don't like being spoken to in a way where they're supposed to take action as opposed to me. So over the 7 years of my tenure, they tried to fire me 4 times. The third time was September 13th, when I had over 200 folks come out and speak on my behalf. The commission recanted, and that was my wonderful life moment, where I had all these folks saying, "Ed's not the problem, you are." I knew at that point that, I had kind of a following within the community, and it was a nice feeling. So when they did fire me on January 27th of this past year, it seemed like it was a natural for me to say, hey, I'm running for mayor, because there I am in the twilight of my career, and with the wisdom that I think that I can impart on the dais. Look, I think it's really funny, actually. I've been on the dais longer than anyone that was running in the mayoral election, even Harvey Ward. I mean, I was up there, I just didn't have a voice. So I decided that day I wanted a voice. And I think it's a voice that the community needs and wants to hear. So that's why I'm running.
Very good.
Of course, you know the story. When I got home, my wife said, "What did you do?"
As wives often do.
And I told her, and she said, "Well, you wouldn't have been the man that I married if you hadn't done that." So my wife is all in, and it's been a long haul, but I'm very optimistic. And if elected mayor, I think that we're going to have a good relationship with the community, and I hope it'll be a continuation of It's My Wonderful Life.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, in our last few minutes, anything that we didn't touch upon that you want to make sure people know?
Yeah, I think we didn't talk about the affordable renewable energy. This is part of me. I've been a champion of renewable energy, but only when it makes sense monetarily, economically. I ended our reliance on coal. I made the biomass plant work, and I entered into the largest solar deal that the utility had ever entered into, and made that work as well. So they're the kind of things that you'll get from Ed as a mayor, that reasonable, prudent approach to management, and hopefully having charter officers that aren't leaving every 6 months. I mean, there's a continuity that's been lost with this last commission. I think there's been 5 city managers over the past 7 years. I think there's been 2 city auditors, 3 equity and inclusion officers. I mean, there's been over a dozen people that have been going in and out of these offices. And listen, I was a charter officer. I know what they were saying. I know how they felt about the commission. The commission needs to get out of its own dysfunction. And I think the mayor can help that tremendously. And I'm the guy to do it.
Very good. All right. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us again. And we at the chamber want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. So we encourage you to get out and vote November 8th. Check our website. We'll have all of the candidate interviews, deadlines, dates, everything you need to know to make sure you're out there and participating. Thanks again so much, Ed. Always great to talk to you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.